Hope everybody's doing well on this night. We're reading and contemplating Rinpoche's book, written together with Lama Shempen, Change of Heart. And Rinpoche shares quite a few of his personal stories. It's an interesting concept that in the same way that we look at children's games and we really don't have any interest whatsoever in their games or their cartoons, but in order to connect with the children, we skillfully act interested and we make a connection with them, and we might even play with their toys with them, even though we ourselves aren't interested in their toys. But we do it to connect. In the same way, enlightened beings look at our worldly activities and they see how ridiculous and pointless most of our activities are. But in the same way, adults skillfully interact with children. The Buddhas, the enlightened beings, skillfully interact with us on this level so that they can gently wake us up. They use the example of a child that's having a nightmare. A skillful parent doesn't come in the room and start shaking the child or throw cold water on the child to awaken them from their nightmare. They come and very gently start, maybe stroke their forehead, maybe stroke their arm, and gently wake the child up from the nightmare, and then say, it's just a nightmare, everything's okay. And then for a little while, the child is half in, half out, and then slowly they realize that it was just a nightmare. So in the same way, the Buddhas reach us here in our confusion through the teachings. For example, we might sing a lullaby to help a child wake up, or a gentle song. The Buddhas give us the 4 thoughts to contemplate, or the 4 noble truths. Everything's suffering, suffering has a cause. It's possible to purify the cause through the spiritual path, or impermanence, precious human birth, karma, cyclical existence, gently waking us up from these silly pursuits that we've engaged ourselves in, that really don't lead to anything worthwhile. So Rinpoche is sharing some more of his advice on a very worldly level, how to deal with this reality. So the question is, sometimes it seems that the only way to bring people closer together is to expose underlying conflicts in order to resolve them. Is this true? Is it helpful to be upfront about our anger if we feel it's impeding conflict resolution? Rinpoche says, there are 2 avenues to resolving conflict. First, those involved can try to correct their own minds and approaches, and these changes will then be reflected outwardly. Rather than insisting on their own way, they might work inwardly with their attachment, so that, if necessary, they can concede to their co-workers without regret. However, those who don't have the spiritual tools necessary to take this approach won't resolve anything by either repressing their feelings or angrily blurting out what they think is at issue. It is better if they talk to each other in a clear, truthful, calm way. By calmly communicating the history of the problem and proposing a solution, they can facilitate mutual understanding. Some people feel compelled to be completely honest and speak out at all times. But this doesn't usually work in mediation. In Tibetan culture, we don't bring dissenting parties together. They tend to be very emotional and speak harshly, which only intensifies the problem. Instead, a mediator meets with each person individually. He makes sure that he understands each one's version of the conflict before interpreting it in a way the other party can hear. This way, emotions aren't stirred up and the situation doesn't deteriorate. There is a Tibetan saying about changing the words of a message to convey its meaning in a kinder way. Softening the original language isn't non-virtuous because the motivation is not self-serving. Rather, it reflects the compassionate wish to bring people together, resolve conflicts. In this way, each party can consider the other's point of view, and a decision can be made based on understanding. The mediator plays a very important and active role. I'll give you a recent example. Just today, Lama Yeshe and I were liberating medical exams, and we had to drive to one side of town to liberate exams, and then we had to drive to the other side of town to make the time for these exams. So you know how it is at medical facilities. You wait a long time for your number to be called. Then they call you, and then there's a lot of bureaucracy and paperwork until finally they liberate your exams, and then you have to go to another department at another facility to try and make a time. So we went all the way to the other facility to make a time. We thought that all the exams were liberated, and we got there. The lady said, "You only liberated one of these exams. You need to go back and liberate the others." So here we are on the other side of town, drive all the way back across town. We get back to the center for liberating the exams, and we're waiting in line again, taking our number. And finally we get called to go back to talk to the same girl, and we showed her the form, and that we'd been there about an hour before. And she immediately got very defensive. "This is not my fault. This number was not here. This is somebody else's form. I did what I was supposed to do. It's not my mistake." And I could see how easily it is to get into this game of I'm right, you're wrong. And one of the mind trainings that we learn is to give victory to others and accept defeat. And I kind of walked in on the situation a little later, but I observed Lama Yeshe. Immediately she accepted all the blame. "Yes, it was our fault. We must have gotten some of the paperwork confused. We didn't give you the right form. We're very sorry to inconvenience you." And as soon as she did that, the secretary's demeanor changed, and she calmed down. She didn't feel like anybody was blaming her. She felt like she was right and we were wrong, and she felt happy. She felt like she had the victory, and everything flowed very well. She liberated the exams. We left on good terms. And it was just another example to me. It's so easy to get pulled into this I'm right, you're wrong. And as practitioners, we should aspire to always give the victory and take the defeat. It's not an easy thing to do in many cases. Some people feel like that makes me look weak, that makes me weak, that I'm a doormat. Rinpoche said, people that can take blame, people that can be patient, people that can not react with anger or aggression, this is true strength. This is nothing close to weakness. Weakness is when you react to situations in a knee-jerk way, without thinking it through, without maintaining a calm state of mind. That's weakness, reacting with aggression, with anger, irritation. Strength is letting other people have their way, giving them the victory.